studio today. My name is Amanda Ray. We got Rance Vincent, my co-host.
Howdy.
And a special guest with us today, Mr. Caleb Ryan Martin. Say hi, Caleb.
What up?
Welcome to the show. You are our first guest.
Second episode.
First
guest.
We are going to get in depth with Northwest Arkansas songwriters Derrick Mears, Chris Goering, and Jana Falkner-Perry from the Hillraisers. So, as I mentioned before, we've got Caleb here in studio with us, and Caleb has literally been with us since the beginning of the Songwriters Circle, and we're just happy to have him back. We kind of want him to kind of weigh in a little bit and discuss some of the Songwriters Circles, as you've been at. How many of you actually attended now?
4 or 5.
Yeah, you've been at several, so you've gotten a chance to meet these songwriters, whether you knew them previously or not, got to know them and gone on to play with some of the songwriters, and now you're doing your own solo thing. You're got a little tour going on and playing with Brody Buster out of Kansas City, and you just signed with Little Class Records, so you've got a lot of stuff going on that we want to talk about during the show. For now, though, let's take a listen at, again, we said it was episode 4. This was our very first show at Nomad's Music Lounge.
Was this the first show at Nomad's?
This is the very first one where we got adopted in. Jeremy Brown messaged us, and we had outgrown our home. We had gotten just too big for the place we were. We couldn't do the parking and having people be able to
The parking
get
at the
in
sick
and out.
house was difficult.
It was a little difficult, so we were so fortunate to have Jeremy invite us to Nomads and offer us the second Sunday of each month, where we've been since. This was recorded April 10th of 2016. And this is our first show there. And again, we're still learning. This whole thing is a learning curve for both Rance and I, as far as, capturing it in the moment, the recordings that happened. We didn't still know what we had.
Well, it's a good thing that Caleb's here, because he's the one that can give the best testimony. So I wanted to ask you, before we get too much further into the interviews and stuff like that and the music, looking at the songwriter circles, since you've got to see us from Sick House progress, and now you're sitting in the home studio doing the podcast. Can you elaborate? Can you pat our backs a little bit and just give us a little feel about how you've seen the songwriter circle grow?
Sure.
Just a few impressions of what it's like.
I've seen it grow into a small thing, into a really well-known thing, and I think that's really cool because we need. So I feel songwriter circles are really fun. I feel like, there needs to be more of it. And I think you guys are doing a really good thing.
Well, and Chris Goering brings it up. He talks about workshops in this show some, and so we're going to get to talk about that subject a little bit, because I've got dreams about workshops. I'm more of a literature guy when it comes to workshopping, but this has been great.
And that's what I love the most, is having what we would call repeat offenders to our show.
Yeah.
Musicians that have been with us since the very beginning and that continue to come back and share more stories with us and to be a part of our music family and to grow with us. So we're grateful again, Caleb, to have you here. So like I said, let's go back and take a listen to some of the interviews from our very first go at Nomad's Music Lounge in South Fayetteville, Arkansas.
All right, I met Derrick recently. I went to his show at George's, but he had his band Route 358 was playing at George's, and you were a solo artist and brought the family in, huh?
Yeah, I played as a solo artist for good 15, 20 years or more, and played a long time, took a hiatus, and came back. And about a year ago, I convinced the rest of my family to join up, and we formed a band called Route 358. And so consists of my wife, who's a bass player, my daughter, who's also a co-lead vocalist and guitar player, ukulele player, and then my son-in-law who plays drums. And so the four of us play around town here and there and whatever, and we have a great time doing it. We make a lot of racket in our neighborhood at home, and try not to disturb the neighbors too much. So,
Do you have a song you'd like to share with us, Derrick?
Yeah, what I thought I'd do is start with kind of the title track off our latest EP. We cut our first EP back in December, and so this song actually came about. I had a niece, family member, distant family member that was going through some troubles with the law for some different behaviors and some things that she got herself into. And in the context of all of that, trying to reconnect and try to figure out how did she get herself into this situation to begin with, she made some comment about the person that she was dating or associated with, and that that she would ride with them until they died. That's where they came from. And to me, it sparked this song and this idea about a relationship that people stay in for the wrong reasons just because they don't want to be alone.
And what came first with that song, lyrics or music, or did it dissolve? Does it come together for you, or do they come separately?
They really flow together. I mean, just about everything I've written starts out with a lyrical idea and a medley at the same time. And sometimes the medley that I start out with is not the one that actually fits the lyric.
Right.
But I've really never had the ability to write a medley and then a lyric and then have ever fit together. It always seemed to be this thing that all kind of flowed together at the same time.
What is your method of, so let's say you get a medley and a lyric or just a line. Let's say you just get one little line and it rings in your head over and over. What is your process from taking that from your head to getting that fleshed all the way out? From one line or a medley to the entire song?
Usually it starts, you're right. There's a line that comes in or a hook that comes in, and I'll either I'll get a chorus or a verse. That's usually how it starts. I'll get a verse or a chorus. And then I just start piecing it together. I leave it lie, I pick it up, I leave it lie. Some things that I have lyrics and choruses of songs that have set for 20 years that I still drag back out and try to see if they get rebirthed. But it kind of, the process flows as it goes along, and I really use a process I call right brain and left brain writing.
Sure.
I write a song left brain to begin with. Just throw words on paper, throw melodies, throw things out there, not trying to think about whether they make sense. Then coming back later on when I think I've got something that almost sounds musical, coming back with a right brain and saying, okay, does that, our tenses matching, is that our rhyme schemes matching? Is there a structure here of anything, and those kind of things? What tools do you use as a songwriter? There are many out there that you've got music memos on your iPhone, voice memos, pen, piece of paper. What tools do you use to help you chart out and remember and keep collection of your songs? Mm-hmm. By day, I'm an educational technology professor, so you can imagine the iPad plays a big part in the way I write. I tend to use a word processing program of some type that I do lyrics and a voice recorder. I have a built-in voice recorder app, and I jump between the two. I'll throw down a melody on a voice recorder, I'll throw down this. And it's so funny, with band practice and things, we have these things where we'll practice as a band, and I'll have these breaks, and I'll just start noodling something, and everybody else will go, stop, where's your voice recorder, where's the recorder? Because they'll hear a riff or something that sounds promising. But for me, what I find if I don't do that process of getting lyric down, getting some kind of an audio recording down, I lose it, or it gets lost in the shuffle, or when I come back later, it's not there. Let's say Derrick Mears 15 years ago, without all the technology, and you were still writing. Oh, yes, yes. Singer-songwriter. Still a tablet. So what was what is the difference between that process then and now for you? Yeah, for me, I think I'm more effective now than I was then, because I have a real difficulty being slightly dysgraphic to begin with. Is the way that I start writing things and they come out of my brain faster than I can get them on paper. So pencil and paper was very difficult. So fortunately that the word processor has been around long enough, from when I was writing, and so I would do a lot of things with that. And then I had a little tape recorder. I had a little mini tape recorder that I used to use cassette tapes, and I always think about that now in context of marketing songs. That now I basically go click this submission and here it is, versus back in the days when I started, it was take your demo, put it in one, get a double CD, get a double cassette deck to begin with, put your master cassette in one, your duplicate cassette in the other, dub them off, package them all up, ship them off to Nashville, wait forever, and that kind of thing. And so to me, that's been the technology has brought a really welcome change to it as far as having me more well organized. Whether it's really affected my process, though.
I was going to say, do you find yourself spoiled, and it's in a good way, as a musician, to have the technology so readily available to you? It's like, well, you get an idea for a song, and immediately you can hit play, and whether you just sing it to hear whatever you've got, or whatever, do you feel like you've gotten spoiled to that in a good way? Grateful for it, I guess.
Yeah, grateful in some ways. In some ways, it's still the same process. And in some ways, there's still like something that just floats around in my head for weeks. And I've always seemed to have this knack of having them float around for a long time before I lose them completely. And usually, in the time they float around, they're restructuring themselves, they're reforming, they're just getting a hook line, a chorus, something like that before I get them down. But it is a little, I will admit, it's nice to have the ability, particularly for me, the mobile technology of a cell phone and with a voice recorder, that at any time you can go, da-da-da-da-da, here was something that was in my head, and have that. That is really a welcome thing, because a lot of times you'd have this idea, and then by the time you got to somewhere to write it down or try to record it, it was gone.
Well, that being said, do you have one of those older songs that you might have scratched out?
An old one. Let's see. Wow. This is one back in. I'm trying to think of where to dig. That is one of the things. Is the digging? The digging is how far back do you dig? This is one we actually play as a band. That we jokingly refer to as a song that was written before Jade was born. And just to kind of give a little background, because they drug in here, so the rest of my band walked in here. So my wife Jody and daughter Jade are two of our band members, and this is one I actually wrote 23 years ago, as a part of a bluegrass band. And I was playing around with bluegrass for a while, and this song was one that I wrote then and hadn't done anything with, and we drug it out a few months ago and went, maybe we could do this as a tune as a band. And so this is one early one. So this song was.
Derrick, it's your turn again.
Back on the hot seat.
You are back in the hot seat, and now your family is here.
I know.
You mentioned the family band aspect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you know, if anyone has any questions at all, and would like to ask our audience or our panel, please feel free. And just a moment. I don't want anybody to feel like you can't interact. I want you to feel fully interactive with this process. Again, I preface this with saying I started this as a purely selfish venture in my own home, just so I could get behind the minds of songwriters and to hear the stories behind their songs. So if anybody has questions, if anybody's a songwriter, most of us hopefully are, or like-minded, or supporters of. But if you have a question, please, after we get done with Derrick's performance, I would like to open up the floor to you guys to ask a couple of quick questions.
That's the death round, I think.
The death round. My question to you, before you get started, what is the difference between a songwriter and a composer?
Wow.
I've been thinking about it all week and forgot.
That's a great one. Wow. Great question.
Glad to ask that of you.
To me, I feel like they're synonymous, but also slightly different. I think, for me, when I think composer, I think of someone that has a lot more background in musical training than I do. Someone who sets down, someone who charts things out in chords and progressions, someone that can write beautiful, and nothing against, beautiful, multiple chord changing medleys. And then I see a songwriter, for me it's like, I know about 5 or 6 chords. I know all these variations of the chords that I couldn't even tell you what the name of them were, because I just, I my finger there one time and it sounded cool. So, and to me I always saw the songwriting as not that composers aren't pouring their heart and soul into what they're doing, but to me songwriting is like, this is a way to throw whatever's your deepest, darkest secrets out there, on the ground and get it stomped on or tromped on, or express joy that you couldn't express other ways. And to me, composition seems too processed versus songwriting. And that's what I always saw the difference with songwriting is pouring your soul and the heart out there, but it's not necessarily this structured type process.
Have you ever been asked to write a song that's not personal to you? Have you ever been commissioned to write a piece? You're co-written with someone, you're just there with your input and maybe your lyrics and methods stay, but it's not not your emotion. You can leave this song at the bus stop and never care about it again.
I've had many opportunities to where there have been pitches that have come my way that have to write something custom, and I'm horrible at it. To me, it becomes. I once heard an interview with Blake Shelton, for example. Blake Shelton started out as a staff writer in Nashville. He talked about the process of being a staff writer in Nashville. He said it was basically, I walked into the office and it was, today I'm going to write a song about a drum. Tomorrow we're going to write a song about a dome. And it became so monotonous that you lost the process. And anytime I've had those kind of situations come up, it's almost like an instant roadblock to the idea or the concept is that, there was a recent pitch for writing something for a particular product or a particular type of advertisement, and I tried and everything, but what I found is just I can't put something in that small of a box.
So you're not a jingle writer.
I'm not a jingle writer. I just can't do it. Now, do I try to really look at commercial marketing in what I do? Yes. Do I really try to do structure, or do I market things as I market things a lot for film and TV, market things a lot for other performers. But in that situation, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the pitch for what they're going through and say, have I written anything that goes with it? Right. Instead of saying, here's the pitch, can I write something to it? Because I always struggle when I try to do that. It's like a block to my process.
So it sounds like to sum it up, songwriting comes from the heart and composure comes from the brain.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I feel that's what I took away from it. Yeah. Because I've been asking myself this question all week, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it up before. I just remember I was like, okay, I forgot to ask. Because I've often wondered, it's like I can sit down and compose a piece on piano and not have lyrics to it, or I do it ding 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 like your roto-rooter guy, like a jingle. And so I've been asking myself, what is the true definition between a songwriter and a composer? And so that really helped answer that. That was pretty good.
I mean, from my point of view,
so. That you've written and not composed.
Written and not composed. Well, you asked earlier for you said something about old one, and then I forgot it because it was something that Jade sings when we play as a band. I couldn't remember it. But out of everything that I play currently, this is probably the song that I play the most. That is the oldest. I'm guessing, Jody, you'll have to help me on this one. Hello Heartache is probably 25 years old. I wrote this song when I was living in Kansas City and was playing at different clubs around there. And to be a song that's really kind of has a good storyline. It's got a sad story. And where this song actually came from was I was playing in a bar, and it was about 12:30 or 1 o'clock, almost closing time. And I remember in particular, I was playing with a duo in Kansas City, and we were playing our cover version of "Fields of Gold" from Sting. And Keith Van Winkle, who was the violinist and mandolin player that I was working with at the time, he was has a Celtic background, so it was beautiful mandolin runs. And I watched this poor person that was a local slow dancing with their beer bottle, and I thought, that existence of what gets you to that stage that you're 1 o'clock in the morning dancing alone with your beer bottle, and this song kind of came out of there. And what's weird about it,
I asked myself that last Thursday.
And what's so strange about the song is that I never write blues. This is probably to this day the only ever blues song that I've ever written. So please, if you want to take this song, have the load up the band, have them do this. Feel free because it's on the verge.
It's on the board. Well, that's another good question to ask is whenever you're putting yourself out there as a songwriter and you're trying to define, you're doing your press kit, and you're calling venues, and I got a band. You want to hear us? What do you sound like? I don't know. Like that, I get posed that a lot.
Yeah.
I get called Janice or Aretha or all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I have West Street Blues Band. Amanda Ray is genreless, in my opinion. I write country, I write rock, and I only have really written about like 4 blues songs. The rest of them are not all blues. So when you are sitting down to, number one, write a song, then categorize it, and then market it, the term genre, do you hate it as much as I do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really funny because we had one of our little family band moments with this last week, and Grant was talking about it. He goes, "What are we? What are we? What's our genre? But we need to figure out what we are." And I said, "I love the fact that we're not."
Yes.
You know, to me, I've always felt genres limit music. We wouldn't have bands out there like Mumford & Sons. If people you ask it, what the heck do you call those guys?
The Grateful Dead.
I mean, yeah,
That's a jam band.
you just sit here and you think, Mumford's not country, they're not folk, they're not hot, they're not pop. What the heck are they? And to me, I've always written this way of whatever felt like, and I listen to every genre in the planet. And I call ourselves Americana because I feel like that's the genre for people that don't have a genre.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I really call it. Or when we try to market, I say we're folk Americana because it's just kind of like it is what it is. It mixes bluegrass, it mixes country,
I pulled up
it mixes
your
blues.
your band page because I had their bios and I was trying to put together the thing. I misplaced your bio. I don't know if you ever sent it to me.
I can't remember if we've updated it.
But I misplaced it, so I just pulled up your website real quick, and the first thing pops up, about. Short, simple, to the point. Pop, folk, country, rock, blend of everything to make it a unique, our own experience. So please, continue that, because I think that a lot of talent buyers get stuck in genres. I think a lot of talented artists get stuck in genres.
Yeah.
And to know that everything's legal. It's okay if I sound like Patsy Cline one minute and the next minute I'm sounding like Melissa Etheridge. It's okay. And I didn't know that it was okay because I thought you have to form a band and here's your press kit and here's your image and here you are and it must exist forever. That's not true.
Yeah.
Oh, look at Steven Tyler with Aerosmith. I mean, he's got the country thing going now, which forever. I could never define Aerosmith because they are so far over the place as far as a genre. A genre doesn't exist. So it's either you're making your own or you're following along the comfort level of what other people want to call it. So
well, and what's amazing for us is that somehow out of the blue, about 3 or 4 months ago, independent IMP Radio picked us up. I'd happened to play. We opened for Blaine Howard, a touring artist out of Nashville, back September, which was a great story because we were booked to open for Blaine Howard for the Razorback kickoff party at Sassafras Vineyard last September. And it was an hour and 15-minute show, and we're like, sure, yeah, we'll do it. We did not even close have an hour and 15 minutes worth of material. I mean, we were like, so we're in panic mode for a month and a half to do that. But out of that relationship, opening that one show, we were picked up by IMP Independent, which is a country radio station. And they played a song of ours, 1,000 Reasons, which is not even remotely in the mainstream, what I would consider a country song. And for the first time, you know, they're all thinking, oh, this is exciting. I'm going, I've been writing for 20 years. That's the first airplay I've ever gotten in my entire life, you know, once we put the band together. But the fact for us, my biggest thing was I got on country radio with a song that's not country. That's a song that's got roots of bluegrass. It's a banjo-driven song. It's not even a song.
It's a good song.
Yeah,
I think any good song stands alone, regardless of genre.
And that's what I really like about where music is seeming to open up. I think the changes I've seen as a writer from the 1990s when I started to now, because I quit for a long time. I drove hard through the 1990s, and I put the guitar in the case, and I didn't probably open up writing again until about 2007 or 2008. Because what I would get was every trip to Nashville or every communication with Nashville was, we love your voice, but we think this would be a better song for you. Or we like your song, but we don't know what to do. You know, who's your demo singer? Well, yeah, I'm the demo singer, so I would get this all the time. And it was so frustrating. But what was I trying to do? I was listening to Garth Brooks and everybody that was on the radio and was trying to write what that sound was. And to me, it came to a stage of like, what's the point of this? If I've got to write, and that target never stayed in the same place more than 2 weeks in a row. Whoever was the next big thing, then everybody else. And it's still like that today, I think, in a lot of ways. You can hear 50,000 songs that sound just like Florida Georgia Line, and that's the same. And so to me, I've hit a stage, I guess, in life and maturity of saying, I'm going to write what I want to write and keep marketing it, and hopefully someone looks outside the box. And that's kind of what I've stuck to.
Do you know which would you mind playing the song that made it on the radio?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The origin of this song is still a little strange too for me, because I'm trying to figure out where it came from. The closest thing I could figure out was off at conferences and driving home, and the driving of like, I'm just ready to be home. I'm tired of traveling, trying to do this. And that's where this song kind of came from, this idea of being out on the road and just being thankful to be home.
That was Derrick Mears and his Raging Banjo. Now, speaking of learning curves.
Yeah, I really love that little informational bit we just heard from Derrick. He had a lot of insight for songwriters. But at the time, with it being our first show there, we weren't sure of the room sound and dynamics. And I may or may not have turned the microphone on that day. So we're just going to look forward to having him back for our Songwriters Circle in May. So don't worry, we will be back on track with making sure things sound good. Until then, we still have Caleb Ryan Martin here in studio with us. So I think it's time maybe for him to play a song for us.
All right, this is a song that I wrote all by myself. It's called You or Me. I've been walking this lonely road, falling down with my heavy load. Where the years went, well, I can't say. Turned around and moved away. You can tell me just what you want, I'll tell you what you need. To make it in this poor world will take more than you or me. I once was lost and now I'm fine. The greatest line I've seen around. What that means for you or me is when I'm blind to lies of thieves. You can tell me is what you want, I'll tell you what you need. To make it in this poor world take more than you or me. I've been walking in my sleep, counting trouble instead of sheep. And where the years went, well, I can't say. Turned around and moved away, and gone away. And yesterday found me on a mountainside, where the river will change direction across the great divide. You can tell me just what you want, I will tell you what you need. To make it this poor world take more than you or me.
All right, so boys and girls, if you're just now tuning in, we are the Northwest Arkansas Musicians Connections Songwriters Circle, and this is about the artists. Today we are talking about Derrick Mears, Jana Falkner-Perry, and Chris Goering. And with us in studio today, we have Mr. Caleb Ryan Martin, who you just heard You or Me from. The next artist we want to talk about is Jana Falkner-Perry from the band The Hill Raisers. And I understand, Rance, that you and Jana go back quite a ways.
A little ways, yeah. Definitely a few years. I met her at a friend's house, and it was like a building, a shed, and dinner party.
A barn raising.
It was a barn raising. I had never thought of that until just now. That's really, I'm stealing that from here on out. So yeah, that's brilliant.
You're welcome.
So we were at a barn raising, and she made the most beautiful pico de gallo, and that's where I found out she was a musician. And
so you discovered through cilantro and tomato goodness
indeed, friends, love, and food and family brought the music, which the interview that we're going to listen to shortly, she touches on. She wasn't much of a performing musician yet.
Well, she talks about it in the interview.
And it was near and dear to me because I've been performing for so long that I thought, wow. So I asked her all these questions. I just went into 20 questions immediately. So I got fast-tracked into knowing Jana.
Well, you do have a way of doing that.
I like people enough, I suppose.
Talk about somebody else who likes people is Caleb. Caleb, tell us what you know about Jana.
I don't know her. She's really sweet. I really like her music. We've hung out at like festivals and stuff before. Ran into each other.
Festivals seem to be a common ground for people to come together and share music and experiences. And we're lucky to live in the area where we live, where people can come together at festivals.
We do hear about a lot of festivals here.
And so it's always fun to watch an artist emerge from the cocoon that is Northwest Arkansas.
Sure.
We live in an area that is just inundated with talent, and we have resources like public access TV, like Nomad's Music Lounge, like the open mic sessions that are held at Dixon Street Pub. We have, and festivals, again, let's touch back on that. We have opportunities for musicians to come out and introduce themselves into the music community in a way that wasn't always the easiest. And I discussed this when I'm introducing Jana, that I booked her first for Springfest.
That's right. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I loved the most, was being able to find new artists and giving them a platform in which to share their art. And she was requested by several of my friends that I take a look into her band, and so I'm very glad I got the opportunity to get to know her, to book her for Springfest, and to get the interview that we got with her. And now she's coming back for this month, for March. So we're recording here. So she's coming back for March 12th at Nomad's Music Lounge for our Songwriter Circle, and she will be there with her full band this time.
She's bringing the boys with her.
She's bringing her boys. So let's take a listen to a little bit of Jana, ladies and gentlemen.
Miss Jana is in a band, and I always say it wrong.
The Hill Raisers.
The Hill Raisers, and there's another local band called the Hell Benders.
Yeah.
And for the life of me, I can't ever get them straight.
That sounds like a two-band ticket.
It sounds like y'all just know to play the same
Hill Raisers and Hell Benders.
We're going to do that. We'll work on that. So I actually was introduced to Jana on Facebook through my friends Terry and Katie. And I was booking a festival on Dixon Street called Springfest, and was looking for new artists, not the same old, and not to throw anybody under the bus, but I wanted new, fresh blood. I wanted new material, new music. We've all heard Ultra Suede, they're amazing. We've all heard Joe Giles, they're great. I wanted fresh blood. And my girls back there in the back, I'm pointing over there to you, actually, Katie was like, why don't you take a look over at Jana? And I was like, hold on a second, let me go look on his Facebook page. Let me just scroll. She's cute. Oh, she's got a band. She's cute. Well, let's see what they sound like. So I said, Jana, do you have any samples of anything? She said, no. I said, okay, that's fine. Go record your next rehearsal. Just send me the tiny little, that's all I need is a sliver. I want to listen to 15 seconds of people's press kits anyway. Give me 15 seconds. Blown away. booked her for Spring Fest. Everyone there loved. And in fact, before I even announced the lineup, the staff at Jose's, where they were going to be playing, was begging, or you didn't actually play there, we were booking it through Jose. The staff was begging for them, and I haven't even mentioned that they were coming yet. It was a surprise. And so I'm just very glad that I got a chance to get to know her. She really inspired me moving forward because she was, I'm right here beside you. I'll play whatever you need to play. Where do you need me to stand? Where do you need me to be? And here she is with us today. She does not have her band with us. She is up here by her little lonesome. Derrick mentioned that he's got family in the band, and I got to call you out too. You've got family in the band. Where's he at? This gentleman right here. Tell us a little bit about your band and your family dynamic.
Well, sometimes it's kind of interesting because Josh and I tie up every now and then and kind of at each other.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I tell him he's fired pretty often, but we have a good time and it's fun.
When did you guys get started? When did you decide I am going? What time in your life? What was that moment that defined you saying, "Yep, I'm just going to do it"?
Well, I've always kind of written poetry, I guess, but I never really thought about putting that into song form until I was older. And I tried to play guitar, and it was too big and too weird, and I just couldn't. And Red bought me a mandolin, and it was smaller, and it only required 2 fingers for lots of chords. So it was easier, and I started playing a little bit. I got a teacher, Richard Hartrick, taught me the basics.
He's great.
He is great. And so I just kind of went from there, and then I really never wanted to play out. It was never really something I wanted to do. I was always kind of afraid of it. It's therapy for me. My music is therapy. That's how I suck at life, and this is how I get through it.
There you go.
It's how I deal with it. All of my songs are heart-wrenching to me. It's hard for me to get through them a lot of times. I have to work through that.
That's a beautiful thing, though.
It is. Sometimes it's.
You're tearing up now.
I am. I do. I get choked up about it, and I see other people get choked up about it. I've had people come to me after shows and say, thank you. I know that was hard for you to get through that. Thank you for getting through it. So,
do you have one you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, we'll try to make it through it. And this song specifically is about. I had a really hard time, a hard relationship that I was dealing with. People that were very close to me that were just toxic. Yeah. And I had to let go, and I did for 2 years, and we've been able to kind of come back together. And this song is just about...
I'm going to get started back with Miss Jana. Round of applause, everybody. Come on. All right, so Jana, when we left, you had just done your song. What was the title of the last song that you
I Miss You.
I Miss You. Okay. So now we're coming back, and I would really just prefer to hear you sing than to hear my voice ask you a bunch of questions.
Okay. This song is actually the song that came before the last song, and it's the first song that I really wrote, I guess. I was playing with Hank King at the time and my husband, and we were just a 3-piece at that time. And Hank came up with a nice chord progression, and then Josh kind of hummed me a melody, and then I just sat down and wrote the words. And this was at the beginning of that hard relationship that I was dealing with, and so this was the first part where I'm like, okay, I have to leave this situation, and then the next part was I was kind of missing these people in my life, and I have yet to write the end to that story.
Your band. Do you have an album coming out? Are you recording? Are you writing an album? What's coming up next for y'all?
We've been playing musicians for a while. We've done a lot of swapping out, a lot of changing around, and we just had a new banjo player come on, and we're kind of getting him on board with everything that we're doing. We're doing a lot of cover songs right now because we have shows coming up, and those are easy to learn quickly, and writing is a time process. So, you know, I'm writing on my own, but I have a really hard time. Everything I do is in G, and it's just, it's kind of boring. They all sound the same, and so I'm really hoping to work with my other guys and work on that, and maybe use a capo or something.
I come across that personally when I sit down behind my piano to write songs. Like, here's another one in C.
Yeah.
And then I go to play the next song, and I'm like, wait, did I just play that? And then I play the third song, I'm like, wait, but that chord progression was in the first song. And so I identify a lot with that. I've been teaching myself a cover song a day on piano, and then I turn around and try to learn it on guitar. And I think that in doing that to myself and tormenting myself that way, I've learned different chord progressions and styles, and then I'll get sick of that song, and because I have this new chord progression and style, I apply that to an original song that's just being formed. So has that happened to you where you learned something that was a cover song, you're like, whoa, wait a minute, I can make that chord progression, and let me try this one. Have you discovered that?
A lot of my songs sound like Wagon Wheel.
I don't hear that at all.
And
No, that really doesn't.
what's funny is most musicians, especially bluegrass players, rag on Wagon Wheel. They hate it. They're sick of playing it.
Yes.
I love that song, and I'll love it till the day I'm dead.
Good girl.
It's my favorite. When I tune up and I start to practice by myself, it's the first song. That's just what comes out.
It's just natural.
I think we all have that favorite song that we all go back to every time. When I've played with several different musicians, one of my favorites is Tony Alvarez. He'll tune his guitar to Melissa, and I always have him start the set because I can't stand to hear him play it, just the beginning of it, and not play it all the way out. So, with that being said, let's get to some more original music by Jana.
This one's called Time for a Change.
That was Jana Falkner-Perry. I love her so much. She's one of my favorite people.
She's one of my favorite things, too.
And the reason she's one of my favorite people is because of the stories she tells. And while we were listening to that song, Caleb broke a story out that we need to have heard. Amanda, have you heard this?
I had not previously heard this little outtake of Caleb's life.
I ever tell you about my Slim Shady days as a kid?
No, Caleb,
I've never heard the Marshall Mathers story.
I don't believe you have. My interest is piqued.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a whole lot of friends growing up, and I always wondered why, and I think about that now, and I know why. I was like the weird kid that listened to like blues music, Bob Marley, and like Eminem.
All right, eclectic.
Yeah, that's the word I thought.
Yeah.
So what happened with your journey into Eminem's world? I understand you cut your hair?
Yeah, well, I'd kind of had like longer hair, and then like I discovered Eminem for the first time, and I cut my hair and like bleached it blonde.
You went 8 Mile on that.
Did you start wearing hoodies and having mom spaghetti on your shirt?
No, I wore like blue jeans, Converse, and like just like a white shirt all the time.
Now,
burn any houses down?
No, I wasn't that gangster.
All right,
I need to hear Caleb rap something in the future.
But after that, I discovered the banjo, and my whole life changed.
Right, well, that can happen.
And I'm sure all of us are grateful for that discovery from Caleb.
Raging banjos, I love them.
Raging banjos and.
All right, after I discovered bluegrass music and got out of the whole Slim Shady phase, I began to dwell more into bluegrass music, and this is the bluegrass song I wrote.
Time lingers on, but I can't go alone. And darling, somehow you're still on my mind. Darling, say you'll be mine, and say you'll stay by my side. Well, let's get married tomorrow night. I know the time is right. Life, you know that we'll have to part. We'll meet in heaven just as before, and up there with God I'll call you sweetheart. Darling, say you'll be mine, and say you'll stay by my side. Well, let's get married tomorrow night. I know the time is right.
You mentioned Tim Warden, who is in the band Rosenbridge, was with a band called The Gins, does the Lou Dog Sublime tribute. Tim is an amazing guitar player, and I don't think gets enough credit, honestly, for how good he is. His songwriting skills.
He's great.
Hopefully we can get him on the Songwriter Circle. We gotta corner him, but no, the fact that you intimidated a musician enough to go, how do you do that? And so what is it for you? You do so much live performance. What is your off time like? What does Caleb do for fun outside? And I hate when people ask me that question because they're like, what do you do for fun? Oh, I'm a musician. It's all fun. Like, what we're doing right now, sitting in the studio here at Out of the Womb Studios, just having conversations over magic coffee and flat pick and guitar. This is what I do for fun. I have a rock beach that I drive to. Yep. And when I say the word drive, it reminds me of the recurring topic that keeps coming up with all of these songwriter circles that we've done now. We've actually done 15 episodes now. We're coming up on episode 15 live. And I've noticed a lot that musicians, when I ask the question, where do you do a lot of your songwriting or thinking of or whatever, it's, well, driving down the road, here's a story comes out. I was driving down the road somewhere. And a lot of it is whether they're traveling to visit a loved one or traveling to go hiking or whatever it is. That seems to be a common factor.
Yep. Now even Cover of Darkness had a song called Drive on our second album.
I love my drive. Like, it doesn't matter.
So the driving theme also comes up with our last and final interview with Chris Goering. And one of the things that I love, I talked about how I like workshops so much. And he has his own workshop that he helped develop called the Sip and Sing.
He does.
He's going to talk about it in his interview shortly. But Caleb, I heard that you sat in on one of these Sip and Sings. And could you talk a little bit about your experience with that?
Sure. I played there. I think he has it on like a weeknight.
I think it's Wednesdays.
Yeah,
that's what he mentioned.
And that's really cool because there's not a whole lot ever going on Wednesdays, like Wednesday nights. There can be like, once in a while, I guess. It was really cool. I did it with like Shannon Wurst and Chris Goering and.
Come back to you, absolutely.
Yes, please
we have
do.
A lot more time here.
What I think.
So, let's move over to Chris. Chris, now you are a
It is more of an
University
academic
professor.
process than what we.
That's my first impression when
I went to one myself.
University of Arkansas.
Just one.
The songwriter gentleman would like to be a part of our
Ellis
panel
Ralph,
and would like to be involved. And I met with you, we had coffee, and then I was invited to your Sip and Sing, Songs in Progress and Sing.
Not one I had
It's a
ever
workshop
been
that
introduced
is,
to
it's
before,
not
and
like this, it's more
I loved
casual.
it. I
SIP
loved
stands for Songs
the
in
way
Progress,
that
and we're
it was presented.
trying to give people an opportunity.
And so, he goes
if
into
they
it a little bit. And
have
Chris is
busy
also a
evening
teacher,
lives like I do. I have a
different.
26-month-old
And
and a
I love
6-month-old,
the
so
structure and
pretty much in the
organization.
evenings I'm not allowed out of the house.
In my songwriting,
safe to say. So
I was not
I wanted to kind of
taught.
create something midday, and I know that other people have some flexible schedules and that sort of thing. And it's still really new. I've only just done it a couple times now.
I had
But
mentors,
if it's somebody out here is interested in learning more about that, it's every fourth Wednesday. It's
and
at
that is
a
what
couple's
I
house
love
here in
most
town.
about
So,
these interviews.
but yeah, Sip and Sing, and Amanda, I do expect to see you here next time.
Yes, sir. I will be there. You have a song for us?
I do have a song. I'm going to go the other direction than
presenting
what
it
Derrick
back
did, starting with something
to a
new and then
group
moving
of
back. I'm going to start with the first song that I wrote. This is actually a co-write with my friend Aaron Travis.
really
I was
love
part of
this
his band.
interview,
Played bass guitar for him, and this is the song that inspired me partially to want to become a songwriter, because this was the experience putting the song together that really made me feel like, hey, this is something that I can do, and it's something that sort of blends both of my passions. I'm a writer, I teach future writing teachers as part of my work at the University of Arkansas, and so it sort of like blends both of those worlds. Writing, songs, and music. Music's been, a huge inspiration, salvation, part of my life all along, and to be able to kind of combine the writing world and the song world seemed like a really natural place for me to be. And this song I'll do for you is called Red Dirt Farm. I have a disclaimer before I get started though. For those of you who didn't grow up in wheat country, like I did in Kansas, you've probably never had your load probed. And that's probably okay, actually, if you've never had your load probed. But what that is it's very important because it sounds kind of dirty. But instead of putting, you're hauling wheat and taking the wheat into the elevator from the farm, the probe goes down and tests the wheat, so you don't just like put all of the good wheat on top and just get a little test. So the probe actually goes into the truck, the bed of the truck with the wheat in it, and tests it, and then comes back out. So it's prevents people from sort of stacking the deck or stacking the load of wheat. So, but that's very important because I didn't want you to think that it's something dirty. Co-wrote that with the guy that I was in the band with, Aaron Travis.
Very nice. So, not to fast forward too far,
sure.
But what is your first song after that? When you decided you have a lyric or a medley, kind of like Derrick was saying, one of those ideas that's just ringing in your head and bugging you, telling you, I'm a song, I need to be born, get me out of your head. Yeah. What was that like the first time that you attempted to sit down with your own thing that no one else was around? How was that for you?
Hard, because I really just I bought this guitar I think 9 years ago this month, and so it was one of those things that when I started writing songs, I was a bassist. It's pretty damn tough to write a song on a bass guitar as possible. Emily Cates does a really good job of that here locally. But it was not something that was really within my repertoire at the time. And so, it was difficult because I had other ideas, and really the first 3 or 4 ideas that I had, a song called Where He's Going, a song called Getting Over You Again, and the song called You Go Your Way. Those were all songs that I really started with the lyrics and then brought other people in to help write the music, because it was not something that I was doing. And then probably a little bit after that, maybe a song called Dear Oklahoma Rain was one that I sort of put together. It was like the first time that I felt like I was like putting together, lyrics with music, and I was still pretty rusty on the guitar, but I was,
But you were doing it on your own.
So I was doing it. I really did it completely on my own, and so it was one of those things that, I am fairly famous to the people that I co-write with, or for trying to like jam way too many words into things and have a sort of overwrite, if you will, and then go back and really try to do the, if you will, like what Derrick says, the left brain, right brain thing. And I tend to spend more of my time in the left brain, like, get it all out there, creative side of things, and then, try to, I don't know, sometimes I short shrift the right brain side of things where I need to really go back and make it tight. And I've started to go through and put a number of syllables after every line of every song, because the most recent song I've been working on, it started out with like 12 syllables in the first 2 lines, and then 4 or 5 lines later it was like up to 19, and then sort of all over the place. It's just really, from a structural perspective, from a structural perspective, I had to speak it really fast. It kind of sounds like, I don't know, Bare Naked Ladies or something, but that's so that, I think that's a perspective, and something that I will say that I've really come to recently is setting up the structure of a song. I attended a songwriting workshop with Shannon Wurst, local songwriter, phenom, wonderful. And so, what she was doing to help kids write songs really helped me in the sense that she was instructing them to essentially create the track of the song on GarageBand, and so, but you had the entire structure at that point. Yeah. And so then once you have the structure, it's a lot easier to know what words will or won't fit, or how many syllables will or won't fit into something. So, something that I guess the most, probably the last song that I wrote on my 2016 EP, Big Engine, was the title track, Big Engine, and I wrote following attending her workshop, and it just came together so much more
let's hear it.
Beautifully. You want to know now? Okay. Yeah. That was a little farther down the set list, but I'll play that one for you.
All about the segue.
Yeah, so in this song, just I guess if you want to know a little bit more about it, maybe you don't. I drive back and forth to Kansas quite a bit. I continue to play back there. My folks live in a little town called Medicine Lodge, Kansas. It was where Martina McBride was born. You may have heard of Martina McBride.
Yes.
If you haven't been living under a rock somewhere. So, so in driving back and forth on 412, cutting across Oklahoma there, I saw that there was just this very picturesque, former rail bed, and and they turned it into a walking trail kind of a thing, which you see, I'm totally in support of the whole rails to trails thing, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm not. But at the same time, it's I sort of always felt like that was a disservice in some ways to what we could be with more rails. And so there was sort of that political side of it, and then there was just a sense that Woody freaking Guthrie rode the train on that very rail track. Now I don't know that he did or he didn't, but it was just almost inevitable. It was so close to where he was, and so I just got to thinking, even Woody Guthrie's rail bed isn't sacred, and so that was sort of the thought process behind this one, and. Yeah, this would sound great with the stand-up bass, by the way. So, Big Engine. And by the way, Big Engine became the title track to my EP because Turn Into the Slide is a hell of a lot harder to take a picture of. you have to get people out, on dirt roads, driving around corners, and it's just, there's just a lot of danger. A train engine, though, was something that I was more...
So, being a professor at the University of Arkansas, and you teach writing, future writing teachers how to be writing teachers?
Yeah.
That's what
no, this will blow your mind. And future writing teachers how to be writing teachers.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So you're the professor of professors.
And part of what I do is that.
I like that.
Part of what I do is preparing.
So, what age I know when we had coffee together, you mentioned that you go to high schools occasionally. And what age demographic, what age group do you start working with? Would you say, how young would you say artists start working with? Or just kids?
So I guess I'm not sure about what your question
Well,
is.
I guess, let me just rephrase. I'm in my head probably with half the question. You mentioned going to schools, to local high schools,
Right.
and teaching workshops.
It's something that I've just recently started, so it's something that's pretty new to me as far as doing a songwriting workshop. Now I've done writing workshops for kids of all ages for a long time, but the songwriting thing is something that I've just recently started, and I'm sort of starting where I'm most comfortable, which is with high school students. I was a high school English teacher before in Topeka, Kansas, and so this is, it was a situation where being in front of a group of adolescents doesn't scare me. Being in front of a group of fourth graders terrifies me. So so it was something that I'm really sort of gearing up to do more of as far as working with kids to do songwriting, and I'm going to do a thing in Stillwater, Oklahoma this summer where I'll do a 3.5-day camp for 7th through 12th graders on songwriting. So might be asking some of you to come join me for that.
Absolutely.
If I ever get around to planning it. So it's a situation where that was the reason that I had done that recently with a high school. And I've done something with 9th graders, 8th and 9th graders, and then it was 10th, 11th, and 12th grade in this latest
And then you also teach university age students, which could be any age.
Yeah,
they start
right.
at 19, it can go at 50,
60, yeah.
So do you find that in your teaching that the younger students that have less maybe life experience have more material to offer at the end, because they're not told what's wrong or right as far as songwriting or as far as any kind of structure of writing? Do you find that maybe which ones do you?
Yeah, I would agree to some extent that the younger kids seem to have many fewer inhibitions. So they're not necessarily worried about how writing this song or not writing this song is going to affect their job, for example, or the relationship that they're in, or something like that. So that they maybe have fewer guards up in that kind of thing, and so that's been really nice. And then it's just, I guess, if you've never been a high school teacher, I walked into this class, at Fayetteville High School, and just to kind of get a sense of what all of those kids were facing. It was a great group of kids, and I loved working with them. But they all had these individual trials and tribulations, and some of them were just unimaginable that they were facing, and that I had found out sort of through the teacher or through the different work that we'd done on songs where they would reveal different things.
Wow, so in working with kids, they've been able to open up through songwriting as opposed to where they otherwise couldn't communicate with other people.
And I think that they were sort of encouraged to welcome. You missed my first two songs, but that's okay.
Calling you all the way out right now.
There'll be a tardy slip. So I guess they were able to tell those stories that were too hard to tell, but they could do it in a song lyric because it wasn't, it was.
Nothing's going to get held against them. They're not going to get judged.
Yeah.
That's amazing. The work that you do, that's truly inspiring. And so please continue. And also songwriting yourself. But I've got a big soft heart for the educational side because
Now, so now I love teachers and of all kinds. So what, did you have a teacher?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you more than one?
Yeah, Mrs. Parker was my 10th grade English teacher. I've told this story, a couple of you may have heard it, but Mrs. Parker, I was really not so much into school at that point as a 10th grader. I don't know what I was into, football, girls, not music. I should have been into music. I wish I could go back and rewrite that part of my life and get, play guitar or something like that, but I just wasn't in that group. And so, Mrs. Parker pulled me out of class one day because I had forgotten my pencil and forgotten a piece of paper, and when the two people sitting next to me had loaned me these things, she wouldn't loan them to me. She was getting ready to take a quiz over Huckleberry Finn, which I had not been reading, and so as we're getting ready to take this quiz, I have to get like Karin Prestigord and Courtney Lake, two of my classmates. They're like sitting right here, and I got a pencil from one and a piece of paper from the other, and I whispered under my breath, so I thought that at least somebody gives a shit. And Mrs. Parker pulled me into this room, which used to be the computer room, which was like practically the size of this room, for like one computer, right?
Right.
When the school was built in the early 1960s.
You're dating yourself there. Careful.
Yeah, well, I mean, the school, not necessarily me, but, so it used to be the computer room, right? But as I listened to her tell me just how much that she did care, and there was like this sort of moment where I was like, yeah, that's cool. And I aced the rest of her class, and really aced most of the rest of high school, except I got a B in her creative writing class as a senior because I didn't really go very often. But I had a terrific relationship, and I wanted to be a teacher at that point. And when I went to college in Topeka, Kansas, I had originally set out with that intention. So, and I've tried in my work here. I try to prepare future Mrs. Parkers.
There you go. See, well, thank you, Mrs. Matt. I'll let the song what they want, but a good song is a good song. Thank you so much, Jana, for that. I really appreciate it. I'd like to go ahead and come back to Chris now, if that's okay.
Sure.
So, Chris, when we left, we were discussing your work with students and your work as a teacher and all these other great things. But let's talk about Chris, the songwriter, instead of the teacher. And
okay.
Let's talk about. I don't know. What is your favorite song you've ever written?
I don't know. It's a good question. On the first record that I put out in 2009, a song called "Dear Oklahoma Rain" is certainly one of my favorites on that one.
And you brought that up in the last round, the "Dear Oklahoma Rain."
Maybe. I don't remember. Did I talk about that?
You mentioned it.
Okay. Yeah, because it was sort of like the first song that I felt, like I did completely on my own, and so it stands out for those reasons. And then on this, EP that came out in January, a song called "Keep Us Alive," which I feel like is a little bit of a darker turn. It was inspired by the movie Winter's Bone, and so I sort of watched that movie and had a lot of these sort of ideas kind of floating around in my head in different ways and shapes and forms. It's really a song that's not, for the most part, at all autobiographical, and where I think a lot of the first CD that I had, many of the songs on there are stories that that I'd experienced at some level or another, and some of them are directly out of my life kind of a thing. And there are certainly elements of the songs on this EP that are that way too. But with the 5 different songs on there, Big Engine, it's sort of like this picture of this rails to trail, and just how that stuck with me. There's one of the songs on there is called Tinkerbell, which is really my only silly song. I'm not going to play it for you, even if you ask, maybe. But it's a true story. Derrick Mears plays on the EP. He plays bass and banjo, lead, and all kinds of stuff. So with that one, it's a true story that we're in Michigan, where this couple were at a flea market, and this windstorm came up, and their dog literally got blown away, and so it's like this sad thing. And then one of the songs on there is it's a little bit more autobiographical at the beginning, but my dad lost his dad, and so I was like seeing those emotions through him. It's called Turn Into the Slide. It was actually Steve Morgan back there helped with in the songwriter circle back, man, like 6-7 years ago now. It's been a long time ago. We used to meet at our Segas every third Wednesday, and that thing kind of went away. And then so the Keep Us Alive, which is kind of Winter's Bones, Southern Missouri, and then Big Engine.
So you are able to take a subject.
So I'm trying. I guess I try with the new stuff, the newer things that it's a little less about me. But then the most recent song I've written and finished, I feel I could play for you, is about my daughter called Katie and me, and so it's it's 100%.
I think it's only fitting that
capture that. So
that happened.
You want me to play that one?
Pretty please.
Right. I was gonna play like the dark Guns Under the Seat song, but you don't want that one.
Did you play for them and sing to them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think probably Katie. She's right up there.
Which one's Katie? The oldest?
Katie's the oldest, so she's 26 months old, and then Zach is 6 months old. So.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, don't ever have kids that close together.
Mine are 8 years apart. I can imagine. Yeah.
They say it's going to be wonderful later. They're going to be best friends later. They keep saying this stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Well, I encourage you to keep writing and keep like that. There's such an endearing song. If my dad was to write a song about me, well, there's songs, Amanda, that's out there. My dad used to sing them to me when I was little, but I can't imagine my daddy writing me a song. It's very sweet. And so tell us a little bit more about how we can find you, to hear your music, or where we can see you perform, maybe.
Sure. I have nothing scheduled. I played in Kansas last week, and then this thing, and so I need to do a little bit more of that.
And your Songs in Progress is the third Wednesday of every month?
Third Wednesday of every month.
And it's a workshop you're offering?
From 12:30 to 2:30, so it's in the middle of the day, which doesn't work, right? So,
no, but it might work. I'm a musician. I make my own hours. Some people are not as fortunate. They have to get up and clock in at 9 and clock out at 6, and I understand that. But for people who maybe have that Wednesday off or can schedule it, it is free to attend, and it's basically just a writer's workshop. Where you get some input from your other songwriters, and
bring a song that you are willing to make changes to, and then we kind of go through this process that I actually use in my other writing workshops, and get that experience. It's really sort of an in-depth thing where some songwriting things like that you get everybody's feedback, and it moves a little quicker. We really try to spend time and have conversations as part of it. So
as a natural teacher, do you find people that are just hard-headed whenever you say a song that you're willing to make changes to or open to being judged? Or a lot of us are very, again, myself included, insecure as far, and once I finally get something nailed out, well, by golly, you ain't changing it. Do you see resistance to change? And how do you nurture that change? And how do you make someone understand, or do you just let it go?
Well, I mean, I think that in any kind of situation, you always put the power in the writer's hands, and so it's your decision to make. We may ask questions, we may even offer advice, but ultimately, I'm going to reiterate this point that it's your decision to make whether you're going to change anything in here, no matter what anybody says. And we try to, offer things in a supportive way and in a way that, is very honest and frank.
Constructive.
And so, and constructive. And so, but sometimes, the more you're around people doing this kind of work, the more open and honest you can be. And I think the more that I've participated in workshops like this, the more willing I am to change things, the more willing I am to look at different people's perspectives. So if 3 people heard my song and all 3 people asked the same question about it, and that's going to be sort of a cue to me that something that I'm trying to do is not getting through.
Either is or is not getting through. Because, if they ask the same question, obviously it intrigued them enough. Like whenever I came,
it's like, I don't get it. I don't understand what you mean by like in that last song. Want me to hold you. That's what my daughter said.
That's so cute.
So that's what my daughter said. And, there are times, too, where, obviously, as a songwriter, I'm trying to take things, inspiration from real life, and then turn it into something that may not be real life. And so, in this case, it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for tuning in today to Northwest Arkansas Musicians Connections, the Songwriters Circle. You've been listening to About the Artist, a podcast that is recorded live once a month at Nomad's Music Lounge in South Fayetteville, Arkansas. We also air on Fayetteville Public Access Television. You can also check us out on YouTube and SoundCloud. Just look up the Songwriters Circle. My name is Amanda Ray. My co-host, Rance Vinson, and Caleb Ryan Martin, special guest in the studio today. I want to give a big thanks to you guys. Also want to say thank you to all of our guests that have joined us. We are rolling into episode 15 on March 12th. Episode 15. That means 14 times before now we have sat and interviewed artists. We have gone through artists like Candy Lee, the Wilbur Brothers, Joey Farr, Brandy Armstrong, Jack Frost, Jesse Dean, Efren White, Walter Schmidt, Chooch Meisenbacher, Lacey Hampton, Opal Agafia. The list just goes on, and we look forward to continuing to adding artists to our roster. So, again, thanks for listening. Again, thank you, Caleb Ryan Martin, for providing music with us today and for being our first co-host in the Out of the Womb Studios.
First guest.
First guest.